Hi and welcome to Sprite Tutorial 0 Image Primer. Introduction. What is a sprite? We see sprites all the time in games, from the original Mario games on the Nintendo to the latest iPad games such as Air Land Sea Warfair. Space Invaders, of course, uses sprites, and Tetris does. Sprites are even used in 3D games as a way of displaying fonts and non-3D data. But this doesn't actually tell you what they are. Basically, a sprite is an object which contains an image, which can then be manipulated within your games. Before we get started with the main sprite tutorial, however, we're going to run a quick primer designed to get you up to speed with basic image loading and handling. Assumptions this tutorial series makes. In this tutorial, I'm going to assume you already have a basic knowledge of Dart Basic Professional, including variables, constants, operators, decision making, data types and arrays. As this tutorial progresses through its different sections and parts, you will need to know this information in an ever-increasing amount. Furthermore, I assume you also understand the 2D coordinate system, how to sync data to the screen, and how to control program flow. If you are lacking in one or more of these skills, then you need to search my channel for older tutorials. Search Google for free text tutorials, or just pop off and grab my tutorial DVDs, which will get you up to speed quickly. Before we get started, I'm going to get you up to speed on image handling, which is something essential in sprite operation. So we're going to start by opening Dart Basic Professional, which we've already done here. Click on File, New and a Project, and we're just going to give it the name of Sprite Tutorial 0. And we're going to create it in our usual location. So we click on OK. No, I don't want to save changes, and there we go. It's important to do this because we need a specific file location for the game to run. It's also a good idea to make sure the application file name is being written into the project folder. So if we open that, as you can see, the project folder is actually different. So if we go to projects, and if I go down to Sprite Tutorial 0, and we make sure our application.exe is saved in this location, this will save any problems later on when it comes to loading media. We can get rid of the project title had. We don't need that. And what we're going to do is we're going to start off with a couple of constants to make image loading a little bit easier rather than just naming it 1 and 2. So we're going to start off with constant BG, which stands for background, and we're going to assign it the value of 1. And we're going to give it another constant, and we're just going to call that plyr and give that an index of 2, and that just stands for player. And once they're created, we're going to start up with our usual header code. So set display mode 1024, 768, 32. You can also do it here by just selecting that download list and selecting the resolution there. But I like to do it just because we're working with fixed resolution media here. I need to ensure the program is actually performing at that resolution. And we're going to call the command sync on, sync rate 60, and backdrop on, and auto cam off. This isn't strictly needed for 2D game creation, but I always stick it in there as a matter of habit more than anything else. And next we're going to load up some media. Now, before we actually progress with our tutorial here, we'll need to download a couple of images and put those in our folder. Otherwise, we won't have anything to load. I've prepared a couple of PNG images, which we'll be using throughout this tutorial. One has already been prepared with transparency, which I'll show you how to implement later on. Now, you can download these images free of charge at http:// if I can type correctly, www.darkprinciples.com dbpro/sprite tutorial /backdrop.png. Oops, I've typed that in wrong. Hang on a sec. Sorry, I'm forgetting the directory structure of my own web page here. This is actually files goes there, so it's files dbpro, and there we go. So we've got the image. Now it's a very basic image, something I just knocked up on my iPad. So we're just going to copy this image, or rather save it. So save image as, and we need to apply it to a specific location. So in this case it's going to be /program files, the game creators, Dark Basic Professional, and we need to go into projects and we need to locate our project folder, which was Sprite Tutorial 0, and we need to create a new folder there called, yes, we want to perform that. We're going to call it media because I like to keep my files nice and organized, and we're just going to save it there as backdrop.png. Oh, I don't have permission, so basically I need to run Google in administrator mode if I'm going to do this. So we're just going to save that to the pictures folder, and then we're going to copy it over manually, and we'll do the same thing for the second one. The second graphic we're going to get is ship sprite1.png, and that will load up a quick ship, which again I knocked up in on the iPad and then converted using GIMP. So blah blah blah. So we're going to save the image there. Just going to save it to my pictures there, and we're going to open up the folder for it. We're just going to copy these two images, and we're going to navigate to our project folder. So program files, Dark Basic Professional. Again, we're going to go into projects. We're going to go into Sprite Tutorial, media, and we're going to paste everything in there. And there we go. So that's all we need to do to set up our files, or rather copy them over so we can actually load something. And now we're going to call some quite common sense commands. Load image, media /backdrop.png, close quote, comma, and we're just going to use the constant we've already created, which is bg, and we're going to do the same for the second image. Load image, open quote, media /ship sprite1.png, and we're going to give that the player ID, so plyr, short for player. And then we're just going to create our do and sync loops. So do, I prefer that to match the program. So do, sync and loop, and then we're going to paste the images to the screen. So paste image bg, 0, 0. Load, whoops, I don't mean to load. Sorry, the cats are having a barley outside, so that distracted me a moment. Paste image, and again we're going to go plyr for player, comma. Now I'm going to use a couple of little tricks here. So screen width, open bracket, close bracket, divided by 2, and screen height, open bracket, close bracket, or open parentheses it should be, in close parentheses, divided by 2 as well. And what this basically does is start pasting the corner of our the top corner of our graphic in the middle of the screen. And now that this has been done, this is basically all we need for the first set. Well, for this first section. So we're just going to test what we do now, or what we've got now. And as you can see, the image has appeared. Excuse Windows resizing everything. Now you'll immediately notice two problems. First of all, that ship doesn't have any transparency, so all we got is a rather ugly block surrounding our graphic on top of our rather nice colourful background, and that's not really ideal for games. And the second thing is, you might need a good eye for it, but the corner of the graphic is in the middle of the screen, but the image itself isn't centered to the middle of the screen. Now a little bit of this window has been cut off there, so if I resize that, you'll basically see that it's not quite centre with the screen. So the corner of the graphic is centre, but what we want to do is actually centre the graphic itself, and we need to add transparency. So I'll just quickly go through the commands we've used. Load image, that's fairly obvious. You always put this in quotes. We're just passing the name of the file as a string into the command, and then we've just got our value set up here, which is 1, so I could also load image as 1, but I like common sense names, and the same thing has been done for our ship sprites. Now paste image works pretty much in the same way as if you were pasting from the clipboard. All it's doing is taking the image that's been stored in memory and it's pasting it to the screen. Obviously it's not using the clipboard itself, but the principle is basically the same. It stores it in memory, you paste it from memory onto the screen every time that command is called. And as you know, this is a sync and loop, so for every cycle of the program these images are being redrawn, then the sync command destroys all the data, wipes it all off, and we start the sync again. And this basically means that you need to bear in mind the order of which the images are being called. If I was to reverse these commands, if I was to put paste image BG after this command here, then it will basically cover our spaceship completely. So all we'd see is the backdrop, and this is a theme you're going to be coming across when working with 2D graphics quite a lot, is bearing in mind the order of the draw order. You need to make sure background, then player, then any foreground objects. If you get any of those layers or draw orders mixed up, then you're going to end up with garbled graphics and results you don't actually want. So anyway, enough about that. We're going to set up transparency now. The good news is it's very, very easy. It's very, very easy for when you're pasting an image. So all we've got to do is add a extra parameter here, which is 1. And that will set transparency to 1. You can see down there, paste image, image number, coordinates, or you've got the option to paste image number, the coordinates, and transparency. So if we compile our program quickly, you'll now notice that our ship, all that ugly blockiness has gone, and we've got a nice transparent background of that ship, and it's allowing the background of the actual game to show through quite nicely. So now that we've done that, we also need to center our object. Now this is something that's you're going to come across in sprites as well, is off-centering the sprite by a certain number of pixels in order to sort of center it at the point you want. And in this case, we need to halve the size. We need to get the size of the image. We need to halve that number, and then we need to subtract it from the screen width, and that will give us the center position. And we're going to do this by adding a couple of extra parameters. So it's my habit to global things to make sure they're accessible all the way through the program in functions and everything else. So we're just going to create 2 new variables, global img h as integer. Doesn't really need to be that big, but it will do. Global image w as integer as well. So we've created our variables, and now we're going to make the program do the work for us and work out what the size of the image is, and then divide it by half. And we're going to do that by typing in img w for width equals image width, open parentheses, player and close parentheses, divided by 2, and img h equals image width, open parentheses, player, close parentheses, divided by 2. So what this command is, oh, sorry, that should be height, not width. So again, the commands are quite common sense. imgw stands for image width, imgh stands for height, and we're basically taking the height of the player image, which is this file here, and we divided that by 2, and by doing that we've found the center point of that graphic. Now what we're going to do is add these in here as well. So we've got screen width divided by 2, take away image w, and we're going to take away image height from this one, so minus image height. And if we compile the program now, you'll now see that, whoops, I do hate the Windows automatic thingies, but okay, there we go. So we've now centered our object on the screen. You might need to look at the screen a bit closely, but that is now centered with the middle of the screen. So the center point of the graphic is the actual center point of the graphic rather than the top corner, which is where we were pasting it. So remember, when you paste an image, it starts at the corner and then progresses outwards. Now all we've done is we've taken that corner, we've offset it by half the amount of the image in both directions. And again, you will need to do this sort of thing in sprites as well, so it's a good idea to try and get your head around this sort of concept. So we're just going to close this image now, and we're going to make it a little bit more game-like by adding some player-controlled movement. We're going to do this by setting up a couple of new variables again. So global x as integer, and global y as integer. And you can guess what these are going to be for. They're going to be for the x and y position. And we're basically going to keep these commands down here. We're going to add in a couple more lines. So x equals, and we can just actually cut this there, and we can paste it there, and we can cut this as well, and we can set up y to equal the height, and then we can replace this with x and y, and I'll just check my code, make sure I've done it right. Yep, that's right. And we're going to add in some movement as well, so we're going to add in some player controls with the keys. So if left key, open parentheses, close parentheses, equals 1, and then dec x. So we're decreasing the value of x, and of course that will redraw our image on the next cycle. If right key, open parentheses, close parentheses, equals 1, then increase x, and obviously dec and inc automatically increase by 1 when no extra parameter is set. So next we're going to set if up key, whoops, open parentheses, close parentheses, equals 1, then dec y, and if down key, open parentheses, close parentheses, equals 1, then inc y. And this will basically allow us some control and movement around the screen. So if we compile the program like so, and if we use our arrow keys, left is now dragging the ship left, right is now dragging the ship right, up is making the ship go up, and down is making the ship go down. And this is the same basic concept that's going to occur in your game. When we come to controlling sprites, we're going to use a similar method to this as well, though there will be some additional mathematics involved. Yeah, there will be some additional mathematics involved because, as you can see, this will be great for a top-down scrolling game. If everything was flying down at you in sort of that direction, then you'd have a top-down scroller, and these kind of movements would be quite easy to achieve. So you could actually achieve a top-down scroller quite happily just using the image commands. But if we have a look at the image command set within Dart Basic Professional, whoops, we need to go home, we need to go to commands. If we have a look at the image command set, you'll notice there's nothing here to rotate the object. So basically all we can do is paste the image to the screen as it was. Now you could do something quite complicated and use mem blocks and things to manipulate the data that way, but sprites are a lot easier, though mem blocks can be a little bit faster. And you can do additional operations on them as well. But enough about that. We'll deal with mem blocks and things in another tutorial at a later date. But for now, as you can see, there's nothing here to rotate the image. But if we go back and we have a look at the sprite commands, which have their own little section, you've got a whole load of different things you can do to them. You've got set sprite, clone sprite, show sprite, hide sprite, move sprite, offset sprite, scale sprites, size sprite, stretch sprite, rotate sprite, flip sprite, mirror sprite. You've got all these little animation commands and image manipulation commands that apply to the sprite object rather than the image object. So this is why sprites are quite important and why we use them rather than straight image commands. And so you can have a look through all these commands yourself, or wait for my future tutorials. They will also teach you exactly what's going on and stuff. So that's basically it for the image primer tutorial. Now I'm going to add a bonus tutorial at the end of this, just showing you very quickly how to create a PNG file using GIMP, the open source drawing application. So I'll show you how to make an image that's transparent I'll show you how to make a image that can be used as a sprite with PNG transparency. That will allow you to operate it quite successfully. So yeah, so we'll progress on to our quick GIMP tutorial now. So if you already know how to use GIMP, then you won't need to worry about this section. You can basically stop watching and wait for my next tutorial, which will be up on the 22nd of July 2011. I'm going to try and launch a new tutorial or new tutorial parts every week, every Friday for Dart Basic Professionals. So those of you who have free time on the weekend can come home and give this sort of thing a try. So we're just going to bring up a GIMP here. So we've got 3 windows for GIMP. And all I'm going to do is show you a very quick, very rough way of making it. So we're going to have new. We're going to set the background here. So we clicked on advanced. Fill space is going to be transparency is what we want. And we're going to click on OK, and this basically creates a nice transparent image there. Now it can be absolutely any size you like. You've got all the tools for drawing and things up there. So if I just create a new layer, that's going to have transparency as well. But if we work on new layers and things, and it gives us a certain amount of redundancy and stuff. If we just draw something very quick, I'll just use a brush and sort of a very rough, very rough ship you might see from the Atari. My brain's going funny because it's 2 o'clock in the morning. But yeah, it's basic ship from the old arcades. So we've got that there, and this is basically it. So if we just quickly fill that in with a little bit of white. Very rough. I'm not trying to be pretty at all. So we've done that there. We've got a very rough ship. I'm just going to resize this image. So scale the image down to 10% of what it was, so we could create quite a small kind of ship icon. So we've got a very rough icon there. You'll notice that all this checkerboarding, that's basically indicating transparency. Now we're going to actually, I think I'll rotate the image as well. So transform, rotate clockwise, transform again 180, so it's in the same orientation as our previous ship, and we're just going to save as. We're going to stick it into the pictures folder, and we're just going to call it quickship.png. Now if you give it the PNG extension, it will automatically save in that format, so we click on save. Now we want to flatten the image, and so I'm just making sure, yeah, just flatten all the images or merge visible layers, doesn't really matter. I think anyway. I probably made a mistake here, I'm not actually sure about that. So we're just going to save that image, and we'll give it a quick test. So I'm going to go into my pictures folder. We're just going to grab this ship. Doesn't look like it's saved transparency. I may have got the options wrong. We'll just paste it in there and give it a quick try. So we'll load up our program. We will just replace this with quick ship, I called it. So copy that and replace that file name with quick ship. And you'll notice that I don't have to change any of the commands here because I've already set it to automatically detect the center of the image. Because it's a different size image, it won't make any difference to our code whatsoever. We're basically making the program do the work for us. Oh, I still left that program running. Let's try again. Yep, so that was the wrong option. We'll try that again quickly. File save as. Yep, replace. And we want to merge visible layers, and that should do the trick. So save that. Copy that. Sorry, pictures. Yeah, that's a white background now, so that looks better. Paste that on there, copy and replace, continue, and we'll try that a second time. And there we go. So we've now got transparency with a very quick new ship that we've created in GIMP. So if you wish to customize your media throughout this tutorial, or just play around with moving graphics on screen like I'm showing here, you can make a few nice screensavers with this, and then you can do so. So there we go. We've got our ship moving around the screen, and we just created a very basic image with transparency built into it. So now that it's starting to look like a game, we've got control of a ship, we've got a background, we've got transparency, and while this is a very convincing starting point for a top-down shooter, what if we wish to produce an asteroid-style game? As I say before, we're going to need to worry about rotating the sprites and all that kind of stuff. Just a reminder, if you check back after the 22nd of July 2011, when the second part of this new tutorial Sprite series will come out, then you'll be able to benefit from that. For now, please comment, rate and subscribe if you enjoyed this tutorial. If you are interested in any other subjects regarding programming, including website design in HTML, XHTML, CSS, HTML5, or if you're looking to move from Dark Basic Professional and go into C++ coding, either with or without Dark GDK, then I'm also producing tutorial series for both C++ and Dark GDK. Now these will be separate tutorials. One will concentrate on the mechanics and core elements of C++, whereas the other set of tutorials will of course focus exclusively on the Dark GDK, and I'll assume you know all about C in those tutorials. So if you don't know all about C, then the C++ tutorial and the Dark GDK tutorials will get you up to speed. So if you don't want to miss those, then please subscribe to my YouTube channel. There are tutorials already up for the website development. There's 5 tutorials, including some HTML, including a HTML5 tutorial that shows you how to produce a simple video player. I've already started putting up the C++ tutorials as well, so that will show you how to get started with code blocks, which is an open source editor. Though the source code, or rather the commands used in C++, will be transferable onto Microsoft Visual Studio as well. And of course, there's already some tutorials showing you how to get started with Dart GDK, in so much as getting the software set up and a couple of programs. I've gone into some depth with the C++ tutorial. The Hello World tutorial may seem fairly obvious, but it's a 21-minute tutorial, so I go into some depth as to some of the mechanics of C++, which you may not have already known, so that's worth checking out as well. So thank you for watching my videos, and I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope you'll be back for the next part.